So tonight we are talking about one of my favorite subjects, self-love. And I think right now things are a little bit more escalated when it comes to self-love in terms of most of us are stuck at home and are feeling a ways about our bodies specifically. I know that I've seen a lot of posts, basically like fat shaming people, for those who have put on weight during quarantine, God forbid, or we're not moving as much. And I think that we need to remove some of those stigmas. And there are some ways to do that, to protect ourselves, more importantly, during this time. So I actually had somebody send me a question ahead of time of how do we protect ourselves, specifically from some of the stuff on social media right now, the pressures that society has put on us, as well as what we're hearing from family and friends. I don't know about you. So I was actually on a call today, work call. I will not go into much detail about the call details, but this is the third time this week that I have heard somebody that I work with make reference to somebody gaining weight or themselves gaining weight. Same person. And it just comes across so harsh. Actually said to somebody on the call, somebody of the opposite sex even, that they noticed that they looked a little bit more full in the face and that they had gained weight since quarantine. And if you have experienced that, first of all, I'm so sorry that you've had to experience that. That is not a pleasant feeling, nor is it appropriate. And I think the whole conversation about not talking about other people's bodies is an important one to have. So if you are in a space where you are commenting on other people's bodies, don't. Somebody did it to me last night on Instagram. I did post about it as well. Somebody commenting about how I was squatting a lot of weight, referring to my body. And when we get to the place that we can learn to love ourselves, and we see the truth of who we are and that our value is not wrapped up in our bodies, that's when things like that don't affect us. So I did not shed a tear last night. I only posted it because it's so heightened right now and so many people are feeling shameful about their bodies that I just wanted to show that, yep, I still experience it too, but we have a choice on how that affects us. So I'm actually gonna just jump right in and tell you what my biggest tip for self-love is. And before I do, please don't think I'm cheesy and just trust me as we talk through it. They are affirmations. They are the biggest thing that helped me get to the place of self-love, and it was a foundation for everything else for me to build on for that journey to self-love. So let me explain. If you were like me at all, most of my life, what I heard in my head was, you are fat, you are ugly, you are no good, you are worthless, you will never be enough, it just went on. And I would hear it over and over and over, and it was literally like a tape that just played in my head. If you were born after the 90s, you probably don't know what a tape is, but think of a CD or a music file. But it was a track that played over and over and over in my head that I was all of these horrible things and that I would never amount to anything. And because I saw that as my truth, it resulted in me settling in every area of my life. So when it came to career, I would settle. When it came to relationships, whether they were romantic or they were just friendships, I would settle there thinking that's what I deserved. It would affect my career. I wouldn't go for that promotion because I didn't think I was good enough, or they were going to turn me down because of what I look like. I dressed like a boy most of high school because I didn't like my body and wanted to hide it. And if you knew me in high school, my nickname was Mellow Yellows because I wore a lot of yellow. Not really sure why I wore yellow because that is an attention grabber. But I wore sweatshirts and track pants all of the time because I just wanted to hide my body. And people don't realize the impact that words have on them and the things that happen in your life as a result. Now, fast forwarding into my adulthood, it just got worse, in all honesty. And then I went through the whole, okay, well, if my body is the issue, then maybe I can do something about it. So I decided, okay, well, I'm just gonna get skinny. And before you jump off from this conversation, there's a twist to the story. So I went super extreme like most of us do. I did 3 hours of cardio 6 days a week. I threw up after every workout, hardly ate anything. I lost an insane amount of weight in a very short period of time, but I got really sick, and I also still hated myself by the time that I got there. And it was at that moment that I realized, oh, it doesn't really matter what I look on the outside. It matters what I tell myself about myself. It matters my relationship with me. But I still had no idea how to do that. So because I still didn't fix the underlying issues of my heart and protecting my mind and feeding it with good things, I still made really poor decisions. I ended up, as most of you know, I was married in my early 20s and divorced before 30. But again, that decision was made because I didn't think I was good enough. And I still had this negative tape that played in my head over and over and over of all the horrible things that I thought I was, that nobody was saying, but I just thought they were. And a lot of it was from when I was bullied as a kid. It was just programmed in my mind. So that's all I ever heard. When I did a good job at something, I didn't even congratulate myself because all I heard was negative. I don't know if you can relate to that or not. I see a couple who have said that they can relate to that feeling, and it's horrible. But this is the key. One of my biggest keys, my biggest tip, biggest step to learning to love yourself is changing that conversation with yourself. That conversation with yourself needs to reflect a positive, uplifting one. And how I did that was affirmations. So when I first found out about affirmations, I was completely weirded out by it, not gonna lie. But I was at an event, I was at a seminar, and it was inner healing. So this was after my divorce, and I was with my now best friend and my mom, and I was called up, a volunteer was asked to come up on stage at this seminar. I don't know why I shot my hand up so fast. I go and I sit on the stage in a chair, and so keep in mind that I don't know anybody in this room except for my mom and my best friend. And I had just met my best friend at that time. So I knew no one else in the room. And the speaker had everybody in the room start saying out loud the things that they saw about me. Keep in mind, I don't know these people. And so they started saying, she's beautiful, she's a princess, she's bold, she's courageous, she's fierce like a lion. And I'm sitting up there like bawling my eyes out because I was like, what? People see this in me and they don't even know me? Like, how is this even possible? So at the end of that session, my mom was, of course, in the back writing them all down. The speaker said, I want you to go home and I want you to say these things to yourself every single day for a year. And I was like, what? And I mean, how many of us have been to a conference or a seminar or something and it's like, do this when you go home, and we never do it? Well, this one time I listened and it changed my entire life. So I took some of the things that these people had said about me and added some of my own things that I wanted to believe about myself, that I hadn't believed yet. And so I put it on my mirror, that I could see every single morning. I also put it beside my bed on my nightstand. It was also my screensaver on my computer because I just needed to see it all the time. And when I would get down, I would say them out loud. But my ritual was this. When I woke up in the morning, I would go to my mirror, look at myself in the mirror, which at first was really difficult just to even like look in the mirror and appreciate myself and not pick myself apart. And then the other part that was also difficult was actually saying these things out loud. So at the very top of my page, it said, I am, and I started saying these things. And it was hella awkward to begin with. It was very weird. It was very uncomfortable. But I was like committed to the process because at this point I just had too much pain in my life and I didn't want to feel it anymore. And I knew that I had to do something. So I kept doing it. And things started to change because the conversation with myself started to change. I started to have positive things happening in my life. I started to have better relationships with people. I started to appreciate my body a little bit more. All of these things started to happen. And I started to see freedom from a lot of the things that I was held captive from before. So 6 months into this, I'm still doing this every single day, multiple times a day, and days that were rough, I would have to do it even more. And then I was on my way to one of my best friend's houses. She lives in Vancouver now, but she had just moved into a new place, and I was on my way to help her unpack and like settle into her new place. And it was a beautiful summer day driving to Stouffville. And I looked in the mirror, and it was the first time in my life, keep in mind I am 30 at this point, and it was the first time in my life I could look at myself and I just said, wow, I am beautiful and I love me. And I was a wreck. I was bawling my eyes out. I was so emotional. And I get to her house and she's like, what the heck happened to you? Like, what happened? So I tell her and she's like, that's hilarious. I was like, how is this funny? And she's like, well, this morning I was unpacking and I found my journal from when I was in Bible college. And so that was like 10 years before this had happened. And she's like, in it, I found a prayer for you that you would learn to love yourself. I don't usually get emotional when I talk about it, but I am today. And it was like the people in my own life wanted that so badly for me for over 10 years. And to think that I had people in my life who desired that, like, why didn't I desire that for myself? And so that's why I talk all the time about this stuff, because it really is so important. And as a result of getting to that place of self-love and appreciating myself, literally every single area of my life has been changed. I was able to buy a home by myself. I was able to recover from the debt from a divorce. I was able to heal from the past from a divorce. I'm in a new relationship now. I've been able to follow my dreams and plus size model and speak on stages and work with women. And if you told me 10 years ago that this is where I would be, I would have laughed in your face. The fact that I own a gym, that I'm in a loving relationship, like all of these things, and that I don't hate my body, like I would have never imagined it was possible. But it did come with work, and the work was reprogramming that tape that played in my head that told me all these horrible things that weren't true. And so affirmations is basically like finding your truth and believing it. It's not just saying it. But at first, it's kind of like you hear like fake it till you make it kind of thing. At first, you may be faking it, and that might be okay. But if you do it over and over and over and over and over again, the positive is going to replace the negative. It's like having a cup that has dirty water in it. When you keep pouring clean water in it, you're going to flood all of the bad stuff out, and it becomes clean water. So I'm going to open it up to questions. If you guys want to take any specific questions, I will answer them. One is here. How do you remain positive in your self-love journey alongside the negative social media? So hold on, let me actually put this little question. So this is a really big one, and I think this is really important, especially right now, because most of us are probably on our phones a little bit more than normal. We are also seeing an influx of things that are really crummy in terms of body shaming and quarantine bodies, and I'm not even gonna get into it just because we don't need to. But I think one of the biggest things you can do is protect your own energy. So I would start going through your feed, and if you see something that comes along your feed that really upsets you, unfollow or mute. If you are in a position where you don't want to unfollow a specific person, mute it so you don't see it. Start protecting what you have, and what's coming in and your receptors, so that you don't see those things. The other thing is to start following other people who are like-minded and have the values that you have, when it comes to body image, when it comes to self-love, when it comes to fashion and fitness, and normalizing a body that may even look like yours. So it might not even be that you need somebody who's like motivational. You might just want to see other women who have bodies like yours, because that also does have an effect when we're constantly inundated with images of people that don't look like us. It then can often lead to us thinking that we aren't good enough as we are, or that we're ugly, or we're this, or we're that. So I think it's a few things really. It's protecting what you have and clearing out the things that do not serve you anything. Also the things that hurt you emotionally, and then also filling with the positive things. It's just like the affirmations, my big tip, right? It's, you've got to clear out the shit and put in the good, because there really is, it's almost like with anything in life, there is such importance to having the good fill you up, and removing some of that crummy stuff. Somebody just left a question. I have many family members who always comment on my weight, and it's people who I can't necessarily cut out. I totally get that. I cry and take it personally every time. How can I move past that? So that is a difficult one, not gonna lie. I also have had the same. My grandmother comments on my weight every time I see her. Oh, have you lost weight? Oh, are you doing this? Or, oh, you've gained weight, whatever it might be. And I've had to politely tell her to stop referring to my body. I actually had to do this about 6 months ago because she called and she's like, so how's your weight? And I'm like, you know that I own a body positive gym, right? And so asking me this question is inappropriate, and I don't ever want to have a conversation about my body ever again. Unless you're asking me like if I'm in pain from the car accident. Like, don't want to have a conversation. So some of that when it comes to family members is having proper boundaries. And if you have to have a conversation, because if the option is to not, you can't not have them in your life, which I understand. Setting boundaries for yourself is one of the biggest items of respect that you can give yourself. And I've had to have them. They're not easy conversations. And to start, you may need to have to write out what you would want to say and think of the impact of their words. So make sure you do it very lovingly. You definitely don't want to do it in an aggressive tone, but something along the lines of, hey, I don't know if you know, but it really bothers me when you comment on my weight and you put me down this way. This is how it affects me, and I want you to understand that your words have hurt me, and I need you to stop. And if you don't, then we may have to talk about other things that I might have to do to put boundaries in place, because at this point, my mental health and my self-esteem are at risk, and I am no longer going to allow those to be at risk because I am too important. Now, with that is a very difficult thing to say, but with that, when you do the work of learning to love yourself and building yourself up and feeding yourself with the good, those conversations become easier. I didn't have those conversations right off the bat. I had to work on the self-love piece and actually see my value before I could have those kinds of conversations, but they were hella worth it because now I don't have to deal with them. So instead of them making me feel bad, it just doesn't happen, right? Very difficult to have, but it is possible. I have done it. Again, it is seeing your own value and realizing that your voice matters, and it does matter, and you get to choose what you allow in or out. So hopefully that is helpful. Somebody has asked, what are some of my favorite affirmations? So I've had different affirmations for different seasons of my life. So when I was first starting, I thought I was ugly. I didn't see any strengths in myself at all. So for me, when I started, I am beautiful was probably one of my biggest, but also my hardest to actually realize. I am strong. I am courageous. I am bold. Those I would say were my top ones, but my affirmations have changed as I continue to grow. So I think they depend on your stage of life. So right now as an entrepreneur, it can be very overwhelming sometimes. And so sometimes I have to have the affirmations of, I am smart. I am a multitasker. I am a successful woman entrepreneur, and those kinds of things to remind myself of the things that I am or that I aspire to be. And they can change over time, and they do. It's kind of like an onion. Onions are layered and our lives are layered. So when we go through different things, we may experience new layers that we need to address. So I had tackled the I am beautiful, I am bold, I am strong, and was feeling pretty good. And then when other things came up, like as being a business owner and a model, like those kinds of things, they would change slightly, and they still can. Also being in a relationship now, like those kinds of things. So know that your affirmations can evolve, and if you're having a hard time finding your affirmations, you can do what I did, which was very unintentional, is have other people help you create it. So what do you hear people in your life tell you that you are? Do people tell you that you are compassionate? Do people tell you that you are beautiful? Do people tell you that you are brilliant? What do people tell you? So think of those things, and those are the things you want to focus on, not the things that are negative. So I have another question here. Let me see what this question is. How do I deal with a family member who is obsessed with weight and is constantly criticizing your body and how you eat? Okay, so I did just address this one, but I'm happy to address it again. I've had to have this conversation, and I had to tell my grandmother when I call and you ask me about my body, I'm not okay with it anymore. You are obsessed with your body, and I don't need that to reflect on me because you make me feel bad about myself every time I talk to you. So it is putting those boundaries in place. And again, the work that you put into learning to love yourself allows you to have those conversations a little bit easier. Are they 100% easy? No, I'd be lying if I said they were. But it's like anything now, right? So if somebody were, say for example, say somebody was coming up to you and like punching you in the arm or slapping you across the face or whatever, right? Like running your foot over with their car or their bike. You would say something. So it's time to realize that words can have an impact on you, and you have a powerful voice that you can utilize, and it does not have to be aggressive. When I talked to my grandma, it was not an aggressive conversation. I said, I don't know if you realize how when you ask me every single time if I've lost weight when we talk, how that affects me. It's why I don't call you. Like, that wasn't an easy conversation, but now when I talk to her, there are no conversations about my body. And sometimes it's just having that conversation. The other option is, and I've had to do this with family members as well, is I had to have a time where we didn't speak. And I put boundaries. That was actually with my father. I didn't talk to him for about 6 months because I had to put those boundaries because I was more important to me at that time. Because I think what so many of us are used to is putting everybody else on a pedestal and not taking care of us first, and not using our voice and saying what we want or what we need. And then I think this also goes into other areas, is when you're able to have those conversations and say, no, this is not okay. It allows you to do it in other areas as well. Like I know for me, most of my life between my father and my ex-husband, I didn't say what I felt when it come to, I don't like when you do this, or I don't like when you do this. I would just keep my mouth shut. And now I'm with a partner who's like, no, can you please just tell me like when I've done something that bothers you, right? Because it is important for women to use their voices, regardless of what the relationship looks like. But they are possible conversations to have. So I hope that helps. Let's see if we have any more questions. I think that's it for the questions. So I don't have to be on here much longer. If you have any more questions, I'll give you another minute. But I think just to wrap it up is, what positive Insta pages do you follow? Oh, cool. Okay. So there are I don't know where you're from, Raina. If you can, while I'm talking, let me know where you're from. There are a ton in Toronto, which is where I'm located. So Katarina Moda is a plus size model friend of mine. Katarina Moda, that's her Instagram handle. She's a plus size model. She's also a boxing coach. She's pretty badass. Mustang Sally too. Oh, okay. You're in Utah. Cool. There's lots in the US as well. I'll try and list off some. Mustang Sally 2 is another one of my faves. She's what I call my big sister. She is a fashionista like no other. Who else? Sexy Plus Clothing. I mean, I know the owner, so I love her and her business. Those are like three of my closest, I would say, like positive accounts to follow. But Gabby Fresh, Plus Size Model Mag, Fabu Plus Magazine is actually a really great resource for all things body positivity. There's Yoga for Everybody, which I think is actually on this live. She's on there. All of our trainers are pretty positive as well. Maybe I should put a list together of like some different accounts to follow. But yeah, I'll start sharing a little bit more of those. And if you have any like special requests of people to have on my show, I am going to be bringing some more guests on. So, thanks so much, Sarah. Also, your eyebrows are fabulous. That is hilarious. Thank you. They are microbladed, but they, that's that. Okay, I will work on more. My eyebrows are on fleek. I love you guys. Thank you. I will start working on a list and maybe kind of covering what different areas people are experts in, because there's fashion, there's body positive, there's fitness, there's motivation, there's different areas within the body positive and plus size community. So I'll work on some of that stuff. If you guys have any other ideas, feel free to send them my way. I am working on producing a bunch more content and really just want to be giving you guys things that you want and need, and that's going to be helpful. So send your ideas. Do not be shy. I my goal basically is to serve as many women as I can, because I really understand the importance of learning to love yourself. And there's so many things that go into it. And when you can learn to love yourself, and it is a journey. I am not always there. I don't always love my body. We'll get that myth out of the way, because it's not the case. Not every day do I wake up saying, I love my body. But when I do have days where I'm like, I don't know, it doesn't last as long, and it doesn't affect how I value myself. And I think that is one of the biggest keys, is we can't allow those kinds of things to affect our worth. So whether that's the scale, relationships, your size, your ability in the gym, your career, all of that does not determine your worth, because you are valuable just as you are, because nobody else exists like you. You are literally one of a kind. And when you can actually tap in and realize that you are that amazing woman already, world's your oyster, man. Like, things didn't happen for me until I actually realized it, and it's worth the work to put in to get there. So I am going to wrap up, guys. I'm so glad that you are loving these lives. This is like a whim of an idea to do. But I really hope that they're providing value and encouragement, especially during this time right now, because human connection is obviously on the decline. And we're seeing so many other pressures on top of the pressure we already had. And just being in this situation in the world right now is already a stress on top of everything else. And whether you're affected financially, emotionally, whether you're on the front lines, like, everybody is being impacted. And I don't think people are realizing that. So if I can spread some joy, I will. But thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you have an amazing night, and we will be back next Tuesday at 7:00 here on Instagram Live. And if you've got specific ideas, send them my way, and we will add them to the list. Have a great night, guys.